about the universe.
Yes.
But imagine a situation where atoms don't really exist. Electrons are not really solid. They don't really whiz around a neutron, and positrons don't exist, and subatomic particles are really an illusion, and that there's only one particle, and it has the ability to have 66,000 different attributes to it, and it's not really even a particle, it's really an intersection of two different kinds of energy, and at 22 trillion times a second, energy comes pouring out of the center of the galaxy, and instantly, because it travels without reference to time, hits the center of all of the suns in the galaxy, and instantly from there to the center of all of the planets, and within each of all the planets, instantly to every life form or object within that planet. And that's basically how things work. 22 trillion times a second, or as close to this fellow called Avogadro, close to his number as we can get in our thinking.
Yes.
This little pulse comes out. These energies all intersect. These particles sort of appear. That's what these guys at CERN are sort of chasing, but they don't really understand how reality works, so they're wasting their time. But basically, humans are very complex, conscious creations, but our conscious mind only works at about 40 frames a second. So we're not aware of this pulse business at the 22 trillion times a second, and that is actually what tricks us into thinking that reality is real, that anything is solid. And if you can get beyond that barrier, you can do some truly phenomenal things.
That's pretty big barrier to get past.
It's difficult, yeah. But basically, just examine the idea. But if that's really, if we took that as our operating principle, then humans must be psychic. The issue is how much of their conscious mind intrudes into that ability to perceive the waves that are creating them and the whole universe around them.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting. All right, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. Now, the financial markets, you talked about whenever we first started this, predicting how the stock market was going to go. Right now, we're in a world of crap, whenever it comes to on a global scale. I want to talk to you a little bit about that and your technology when we come back. Stick around, everybody. This is Paranormal Radio. I'm your host, Captain Jack. We're talking about botnet forecasting, basically. Forecasting the future with botnet technology with Clif. And we'll be right back after the news. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday night. You're listening to Paranormal Radio. I'm your host, Captain Jack. My guest tonight is Clif from halfpasthuman.com. Basically, what we're talking about is forecasting the future with botnet technology. It's very, very fascinating. The first time we had him on a program, after that, I never looked at message boards the same, I have to admit. I even tried to kind of pay attention to see if I can keep it in my mind as I'm going through the different posts to see if there's anything that stood out as far as, particular keywords. That's sort of how the software works, actually. But it can forecast some very interesting things. Now, whenever he created this, he did it to kind of, track the stock market, because all the decisions in the stock market is done by emotion. So maybe it could be something there. Now, there's something very interesting. If you look at the stock market today and the world financial situation, you have to sit and wonder, did his technology predict where we're at right now? And most importantly, what kind of information does he have for us for the future regarding it? I don't know. Let's ask him. Clif, what says you? Oh, did we lose him? I bet we lost him. And, of course, we lost him. And here we did. We had this great lineup and everything. We had this great setup. I don't think I can capture the flow of that again. That was a great setup. But I got too many things running back here, so the phone lines dropped out. All right, Clif, are you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Sorry about that.
That's right. You want to hear something really paranormal?
Yeah, please.
Since our prediction about the current state of affairs that we began saying October 7th was going to be a turning point day, I've done 3 radio shows, including this one. All 3 have had technical difficulties. Never before has that occurred. It led to me getting new phone systems and such, thinking maybe that was it. Obviously not.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely probably guarantee that you will probably have more throughout the night. It's something about a Monday with us. Something about a Monday, and it's always after the top of the hour break. Our phone system drops out. We've been able to track it, predict it. I don't know why. I keep forgetting about it. I don't know. Anyway.
Probably the universe telling you something if we could only figure out what it was.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, I did this great comeback from the break, explaining what we're talking about tonight for anyone listening in, new listening in, and explain to them that originally this was created, that you created it to kind of track the stock market, see what's going on. And I said we have to ask ourselves, was there anything that was in your data that predicted our current situation in the financial markets?
Oh, there was tons of it a long time ago, actually. I got hooked up in 2001 with this guy, George Ure,
yes,
who's runs urbansurvival.com, and he's an economist, and so he likes we say his monkey mind is fascinated by numbers. And he started noticing a pattern in our reports, and basically we had this thing called the George postulate.
Yes.
And that is that the longer we see something coming, the more impact it will have. So, for instance, we actually had a prediction that, before the Olympics in Greece there, in Athens, that something was going to occur to some of the athletes that were favored, that were hometown boys, basically, and it was going to involve wheeled vehicles. And, of course, 3 days or 2 days before the opening, or the day before, something like that, the two favorite Greek athletes were injured in motorcycle accidents or moped accidents, whizzing around as they should not have. And so we get that kind of thing very quickly.
Yes.
And we got that, like I say, 3 or 4 days beforehand. But the current state of affairs we've been seeing for well over a year. It actually turns out we went back and looked at some old postings that we'd had out there, and we had it out, I guess, as early as April of 2007. And then we really started concentrating on what we called the death of the dollar meme in July of 2007, and started really pinpointing it into October at that time.
Yes.
And then, of course, as the closer we got to the event, the more we were able to pinpoint it into the day, and we said October 7th. Now, a lot of people dispute what we were talking about. They say, oh, no, the crash really started on October 6th when we had that giant drop. And that may well have been the case, but what we were seeing and what we were referencing was not the actual event, but rather the language around it. And now the British press and some of the European press and even Asian is acknowledging that the language shifted on October 7th to one of panic and fear outright and fear expressed and so on, and that's precisely what we said would occur. Then we also said that the current type of language, the stuff you've been hearing out of the talking heads in the media and everywhere, will continue. We initially thought into about January and then about to February 19th, and now it appears to shade a little bit into March, but it kind of peaks out in around February 19th. But basically, we're on the long slide down part of a roller coaster where everybody screams and holds their hands up, and it won't let up until the end of winter.
So that actually brings me to my next question. So you're seeing in your data now, currently, that there is going to be possibly a recovery from this, maybe?
You're dropping out on me there.
Am I?
Sorry.
Your data that you're getting now from your technology, are you getting anything that suggests that we're eventually, like midwinter, that we'll come out of this low point that we're in the finances?
Not a low point per se. What we're saying is seeing a series of very large steps down, if you will, a series of interrelated emotional changes that suggest that we're going to hit another pocket of intense emotional expression about economic things globally, which implies that something will have occurred and made things a whole lot worse, and that pocket will trigger off a whole series of events itself that will continue us on pretty much the same emotional level of expression. I know a little nuance, and we live and die by the nuance in terms of the length of the projection.
Sure.
So we're seeing that, for instance, we've got a period of time here from now through the 17th is our highest probability. October 17th is our highest probability of what we saw as a form of government intervention in the sense of potential locking down of markets. And sure enough, a couple of days ago, we had the Italian minister and everybody start talking about, well, we need to lock down all the markets for a few days, let everybody cool off. Didn't necessarily mean that it would occur, see, but months ago we said lockdown would be showing up with visibility in the global media stream.
Yes.
And sure enough. So we get what people talk about, not necessarily the event itself. I sure hope that makes sense.
It does. And let me ask you, if And of course this increases with Moore's law. I mean, computer power and everything else. As technology gets better and better, are the forecasts getting a little bit more accurate?
Yeah, but I think we should actually credit ourselves more than the machinery, because the machinery is just collecting more stuff for us and sorting it faster.
Yes.
It's still in a level of interpretation and knowledge about what we're seeing.
Yes.
And I've been doing this since 97 very actively, and have been thinking about it since 94, so I've got a lot of history in it. And I've had a help of a lot of good thinkers out there.
Yes.
So we are getting more bang for the buck, in the sense that when we're correct, now we're usually very spectacularly correct relative to what the press and the media and everybody will be talking about around the event. Now we have to be, again, sort of weasel words here. If an event, for instance, came up like the Northeast power outage, we forecast that fairly well, 3 weeks in advance, described where it would start, how it would affect people, and so on. And we did it around the word terrorism. As far as anybody knows, it wasn't a terrorist act. It was a natural occurrence or other form of cause.
Yes.
But the first thing that everybody thought about was terrorism. So that's our first and highest level of word that we got that was associated with that event. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we were wrong about the terrorism, but we were correct about how it started, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
And we were wrong because everybody else instantly thought that, and that led to these other postulates, and off we go in this different line of thinking that helped us refine and get to where we are today. So the language ahead of us, at the end of this month and in November, late November through, say, about mid-December, is going to take a couple of very nasty turns, even from the state we're at now.
Yeah, that's not that's not very good.
No,
not at all. All right. Well, also with that, of course, it's kind of hard to believe that we're already coming up on election time. I mean, it's come up fast for me anyway.
Yeah.
So that brings, a lot of people, we've had psychics on the program, and people go, okay, ask them who the next president's going to be. What you got for us as far as that's concerned?
Well, we don't actually track that because of the issue around politics and religion is that they're very little nuanced these days. People are seemingly in their expression more extreme than neutral, and so we don't really have a baseline from which to track. And to be honest, I don't care. To be absolutely frank about it, in my personal opinion, anybody voting Republican or Democrat is part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Absolutely.
That we have barriers to entry that provide for no other solutions. It's a corporatocracy. They're just providing an illusion of choice, and so it's a waste of everybody's time to participate with the scum at the top who control both candidates.
True.
Let's be quite honest.
True.
It's all controlled by lobbyists, money, and the powers that be. And basically, they both may be good men and be dupes, be unaware of their particular role. And in either case, we can't predict who would come out, but we do know certain language around the election that isn't encouraging for anybody. And that is that we show lots of words relating to confusion.
Oh?
Yeah, we started. Now let's back up. Last January, we were talking about how there would be calls for an early election. There would be language around an early election.
Yes.
Well, sure enough, that showed up in Ohio, where people were contentious about all this early voting.
Right.
We weren't correct in thinking that it would be national, but we didn't know. All we knew was that would be the language that would pop up, right? And so we knew that back in January, and we started getting indications as early as April and May that the primary dominant state of affairs here after the election, and we can't say how long that will last, is going to be confusion. And we're getting it in, and we can perfectly be wrong, especially in instances of this kind of thing, because there's no nuance to work in. Basically, it's extremes on either side, so there's just no gray area, and that's where we dig out our clues as to what's going to happen. But within the context that we have, this confusion element is going to be as emotionally searing, if you will, as what we experienced in the year 2000. Although that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the same type of confusion that will be generated.
Yes. Yes. The last time we had you on, you allowed me to kind of take a look at some of the reports